Welcome. This is Rebecca Smith Aldridge, the Coordinator for Library Sustainability for the Mid-Hudson Library System. We'd like to welcome you to the Mid-Hudson Library System's Engage webinar series. Today we've got Pam McCluskey and Jen McCreary from the Desmond Fish Library in Garrison here to share information about their coding program that they've been working on for a number of years, which is incredibly exciting and really the first of its kind in our system. Jen is the director of the Desmond Fish Library, and Pam McCluskey has one of the coolest titles in libraries in the world. She is the Librarian at the Desmond Fish Library. So I'm going to stop talking and turn it right over to Pam and Jen to get started today.
Hi, and welcome to DIY Coding Program. This is a McCreary and McCluskey production. And this is a big shout out to Erica Freudenberger, who did point out that our names do sound like a 70s detective series. We're really excited to be presenting about Project Code Spring, which is our local programming coding program for kids. For any directors out there who have been at Advocacy Day in the past 2 years and are familiar with the rallying cry of libraries are education, you understand that supporting digital literacy is a form of education and a natural fit for libraries in the same boat with early literacy, financial literacy, health literacy, and all the other forms of literacy that we promote to help empower our patrons to succeed in the world. And technology is everywhere these days. Our patrons encounter computers at work, in their homes, their phones, their cars, their entertainment. And we really started our coding program at the library in response to a demand for digital literacy education from our local parents and from coders in the community. It's a natural fit for our mission to support our community through educational opportunities, helping our patrons gain the job skills required in an increasingly tech-focused workforce, and empowering them to interact with their gaming devices and their phones and all the other tech that they're encountering in a really creative and informed way instead of just being passive users. So when we talk about coding, we're really talking about digital literacy in libraries.
Okay, about 3 years ago, we started what we call Project Code Spring, which is a play on Cold Spring, the town in which we're part of Phillipstown. We had volunteers from the local tech community, concerned parents, worried about that computer education in the schools could not be taught in a wide breadth. They just weren't equipped for it. So with 8 donated desktop computers, 5 Raspberry Pis, and a license for Minecraft EDU, and a bunch of free online resources, we set up a ad hoc DIY lab with 10 kids. There was no budget for this program. It was completely dependent on donated computers, which the kids then opened up, upgraded, added RAM to, and completely disassembled and reassembled, and continued to disassemble and reassemble, learning how the ins and outs of hardware as well as software.
Okay, so 3 years later, we have a dedicated budget line of $1,000 a year that's approved by our board, and we do have additional funding from our friends and other local organizations. And the program is really expanding in every direction that the kids can take it within the resources that we can throw at them. The kids have built their own ad hoc computer lab from scratch, and we've just been adding on to it as resources become available. We have over 80 kids registered now. The program is meeting twice a week. And we have all the equipment that you can see there listed on the screen, and it's just growing and growing. And the next sort of phase for it is going to be a computer lab, which we just received a public library construction grant to fund, which will be a permanent space as opposed to the one that we have to break down twice a year.
Okay, so what worked with this program was letting it be a self-organized learning environment, almost like Montessori meets the digital age. We had kids who got promoted to IT staff, so as they started to learn how to code and become more and more confident, as newer, younger kids came in, we allowed them to sort of mentor them. And that way projects started to come around organically, so we never had to really come up with a curriculum or come up with the project for that weekend. The kids' own imagination started fueling this program. We started teaching with different free resources that really worked. Code Combat really worked very well. What also worked was having a dedicated program facilitator who was paid staff. Volunteers will come and go as kids' interests may wane, or they'll decide they're going to do lacrosse, so you'll lose a parent volunteer from time to time, or their projects will take them away. So you really do need at least one dedicated person who is guaranteed to be there every week.
Another thing that really worked was tapping into our local community resources. We did partner with a lot of different organizations, including our local IT groups, the Lions Club, some other nonprofits in the area for donations and for funding. We borrowed equipment from one of our local colleges, and we've really had a symbiotic relationship with our local schools. Pam goes twice a week to each of our local schools and does programming in-house with the kids there. And the schools have kids who are interested in programming, and we really can provide the time and the resources to dedicate to this kind of program. So we've really established a great partnership with them.
And by going in and out of the schools, I could really see the challenges that schools have to teach coding and computer science. They have computer labs, but they can't take those computers apart. They can't take the computers apart at home too. They may disable the only working computer they have. There's limited bandwidth. There are firewall issues. Kids can't write or read access to their computers. So if they wrote a program in JavaScript and wanted to execute it, it would be blocked as a virus. We're here at the library. They can safely write JavaScript, try and see if it works, and if it ends up taking out one of the donated computers, that's fine. They've just figured out the limitations of RAM and why they need to upgrade. So it ends up being a true digital literacy experience.
So just in terms of challenges to watch out for when you're doing a program like this at your own library, one of the things we weren't prepared for was how popular our program was going to be. We very quickly ran out of space and resources, and we actually had to stop advertising for a while. Boo-hoo, poor us. We had so many kids coming in. We just ran out of computers. So we did have to throw some more resources at it from the very beginning than we were originally anticipating. Again, I think I mentioned this earlier, we do have a computer lab that has to be broken down twice a year, which was hard. Just putting it back up and down again can be a difficulty. Volunteers can't be the sole foundation of your program. They do come and go, and it's always good to have a backup plan for when your equipment breaks and when your internet is down. Pam has all kinds of different programs that she's used to work with kids offline and teach them coding without computers, which is kind of an amazing thing. Also keeping equipment organized. There's lots of tiny parts in Lego robots, so having some kind of organizational or storage set up to start is always a good idea. And be prepared to accept lots of e-waste. One of the downside of getting lots of wonderful things donated is that you can harvest them for parts, or you can teach kids how to build them, but you do end up with a lot of things that you have to cart away to the waste yard. And wheelie chairs are actually probably the hardest thing that we've dealt with. If you are equipping a lab, we strongly recommend that you not equip it with wheelie chairs, especially if you're dealing with kids, because they do love to roll around, and it can be a danger to you and to themselves.
I'm considering getting little chocks for each of the wheels. So recommendations. Budget some time and funding for continuing the education as a program facilitator, either like a Teen Geek or something, but don't just depend that he'll be a volunteer or he's doing it for intern credits. It really should be someone who's a paid staff member. Start your program small. If you already have, say, a 6 to 8-year-old group coming in, make your coding program geared towards them, and they will age into the program. With Project CodeSpring, it's been so popular. I've seen kids come dedicated for the past 3 years, and I've had kids who started at age 11 who are now going to be high school sophomores who are still in the program and still going strong. So this has turned into a teen tween program. Also, consider too, by creating a STEM program with a very, very low budget, when you do go for a grant for STEM funding, you have something measurable. You can show interest. You can show that you've done some dedicated STEM work, and it shows that you actually need the technology. It proves the need, so it could give you a leg up on STEM grants. And this next list here is a list of some of the free resources that we have used that are available online. And this is a good background in order to continue to build your program without any money involved. Just need computer space. And coming up September 26th, I will be teaching a day clinic at Southeastern. It will be focused on exactly this, creating a STEM program with zero budget and developing what it helps you figure out what you want in your makerspace. If you end up trying to get a makerspace, you can see what your staff is going to be strong at. So you don't just get a makerspace. It's like being given keys to a car and you don't know how to drive stick. This will give you the skills to actually run and go with your new makerspace.
And last but not least, I just wanted to say to all the librarians out there who are thinking, I'm not an IT person, I'm not an IT person, and you can do this at your library. I just recommend that you have fun. It's like a reference job. You're researching, you're going online, you're locating resources that can educate you, and you can bring this into your community. It really is a great project to incorporate into your library.
Jen and Pam, that was awesome. Thank you so much for that crash course and your project CodeSpring. Before we go, I just wanted to ask you, what have your kids been working on in this program that have been really like a highlight for you or something that's really...
Well, we've had a couple of projects that have been very amazing. We have built 2 3D printers so far. One is in the works. We just got the hot end to start firing up and melting the plastic. And we also had a second smaller printer that we bought from MakerBot, which was only $250, and that guy printed for a good year before some of the parts started to fail on that just due to friction, so we're looking to repair that one. We also built a virtual reality sandbox, which is an actual sandbox filled with play sand, and we put an Xbox controller positioned above it, just like the one where you move your body in order to move your Wii and to make your avatar work. Well, it maps the surface of the sand, sends that information to a computer, which sends it to an LCD projector, which projects on top of the sand. And as you move the sand around, it readjusts the topography lines in real time to the height of the mountains. It has virtual water that if you put your hand above it, it will cause rain and cause it to flow down. It flows down mountains, creates lakes. And this project was underwritten by the Hudson Highlands Land Trust for $500. And the kids' challenge was to build this under $500, to find parts that we could use, research parts to buy that we may need to get in order to build this. And the Land Trust is looking to write curriculum for it in order to be used in the schools to show lake creation, watersheds, and different aspects of land mass and water that's easier to teach than giving them 2D topography maps.
That is fantastic. When I came to your library and saw the sandbox, Jen will tell you, I was like gobsmacked. I thought that was one of the coolest things I've ever seen because it touches on so many different disciplines of study, and I thought that was really exciting.
Yeah, I love that one. That was an open source project from UC Davis as well. They gave the whole information out there, from the programming right down to the build of the sandbox, what specific Xbox controllers. So that was a free resource to build that. It was just a matter of getting the lumber and learning the Python script in order to make it work. It's a great challenge for the kids. And that water can be changed. The viscosity can be changed to lava. So it could teach fluid dynamics all the way up to a high school, college level, not just for kids of elementary school.
I think that's phenomenal and something that people would not expect to find at their local public library.
I agree. We're proud of it. The kids are proud of it. You have to have a really good vacuum cleaner though if you do decide to build a sandbox.
That's a great pro tip to end on.
Oh yeah. Get the Dyson. You know, the small little ones, Hoover. No, it's not going to cut it. You really do need a Dyson. So put it in your budget.
Cool. So I just want to thank you again for sharing your expertise. What you've put together is so impressive, and we just can't wait to see what you do next with your computer lab that you have planned.
Thank you very much. Hope to have you at the lab soon.
That'd be great. I'll talk to you guys soon.